Does your child often switch hands during an activity? Or perhaps you feel like they may be left-handed or even ambidextrous? Well, today's video is going to help you try to solve the mystery and give you some tips in case they are. Keep on watching to learn more. Happy Left-Handers Day. Oh, I guess I should use this hand. Did you know that August 13th is National Left-Handers Day? Well, today I want to tell you about some tips in case you have one in your home. There are many famous left-handers out there in the world, including some from the past and the present. Babe Ruth, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama. Just about any genre you can think of, there's going to be some famous left-handers. They make up about 10% of our world. They often face challenges that we right-handers aren't even aware of. Now, if you don't know who I am, I'm Amy, Pediatric Occupational Therapist and founder of Playapy, and I'm here to provide you with some playful solutions and powerful results. So today, I want to tell you about some tips that are going to help you if you are not sure if your child is left-handed, and if they are, some tips on how to help them. So let's get started. So one of the more popular Playapy videos is one called Is My Child Ambidextrous? And this video is really helpful and has tons of tips that are related to this subject. So I want you to check it out. Look at the link up above and you can get some information. I don't want to do too much repeating of what's in there. It can be difficult to determine if a child is left-handed because oftentimes they come into the world of someone who isn't. And this confuses a lot of parents. Now, left-handedness does run in families. So if you do have an immediate family member who is left-handed, it is a little bit easier to come to that belief that maybe your child is too. But if not, I just want you to keep in mind that there are some little things to consider. One of the things is that left-handers are often males. Actually, more than 60% of left-handers are males. So that's something that might tilt you over to one direction. Another thing that I thought was interesting in my research is that children who suck their thumb on the right side are often right-handed. But that's not necessarily the case on the left side. If your child is a left thumb sucker, they could be either right or left-handed. Now, if both parents are left-handed, there's still just a 26% chance that your child is too. So there are some things that I want you to consider if you are struggling and are not sure. In the video I talked about earlier, Is My Child Ambidextrous? I talked about the fact that it's probably not the case, right? Because only 1% of the population is. So I told you that you should look to see whether your child's eye dominance or foot dominance might put you in the right direction. But those can also be different. So there's some other things that I want you to consider. Now remember that your child may not have dominance in their hands until they're 4 years old or later. So keep that in mind because what we may be seeing is just a preference, and that may help us to see what way they're going. One of the main reasons why this is such an important question for parents is because they don't know what hand to place a pencil or a crayon in for their child, and they want to help them out. Well, this is what I want you to think about. Instead of focusing so much on which hand they're supposed to hold it in, I would focus more on whether they can hold the pencil or the crayon correctly, or if their grasp is more age appropriate and mature. So if you're seeing your child still holding their pencil like this, or like this, or very much like this, or something like that, their issue is much more important to work on as opposed to which hand they're holding it in. So I don't want you to focus too hard on left and right if the issue is more that they're grasping very immaturely, because that means that you have a lot more other foundational skills to work on that are much more important. If they don't have that proper grasp, then that means that they may not really even have a dominant hand yet. If their hand is dominant, then they probably already have a mature looking grasp, which will look something like this or something, even with a crossed thumb. But you're going to see a better placement of the fingers on a writing utensil as opposed to not having a good placement like this, right? What are some new things to consider? The first thing I want to suggest to you is to look at how they are completing their activities of daily living, what occupational therapists refer to as ADLs. So these are things like their grooming skills and dressing skills and hygiene and things like that. I often like to see which hand a child is preferring when they're doing things like brushing their hair, right? So they may use their dominant hand for that type of task, or brushing their teeth. When I speak to adults who are left-handed, and they often do some tasks with their other hand, with their right hand, when it comes to their grooming skills, though, they do tend to prefer their left hand. That is often because it involves a lot of precision, especially if you're shaving or doing makeup application and things like that. So think about that. You want to focus on those grooming skills and see which hand they're preferring, also feeding skills as well. Another thing you want to think about is the fact that the world is designed for right-handers. So left-handed people often do tasks right-handed even if they are left-handed because things are naturally placed on that side. Think about how sometimes when you approach a door that might have a handle on the left side, it may be quite awkward for you as a right-hander to use your right hand. So you might switch to your left in that moment. And left-handers have that in their lives much more often. So some of the activities that left-handers often do as adults that they do right-handed, even though they are left-handed, are cutting and using a mouse on a computer. So think about that. Even playing guitar, right? Some things are just easier on the right side, or they're designed that way. So when we're looking at whether our child is left and right-handed, you want to keep in mind where things are placed. And speaking of place, you want to place an object in front of your child at the midline. So if we're trying to determine if they're right and left-handed, we don't want to use our favoritism to the right side to influence them. So when you are trying to give your child a writing utensil, like a marker or a crayon, instead of placing it in their hand or on the right side of them, make sure you place it directly in front of them in the midline position at the middle. This is going to take away some of that influence. You also want to think about where you're sitting, right? So if you are helping them and you're sitting to their right side or their left side, they may be influenced by that because they may seek your help. So you may want to start by being behind them and not influencing them in that way if you're trying to make that determination. Now, what if you already have a left-handed child? You already know, you're like, okay, my kid's going to be left-handed. Well, here are some things to consider. You want to possibly purchase them tools that are made for left-handers. That's going to make things a lot easier for them. So a lot of parents are really surprised to know that there are left-handed scissors. When you give a child right-handed scissors and they try to use it with their left hand, it can be very frustrating for them. Another thing to consider is that your paper might smear if you're using a pen and your left hand. So sometimes left-handers complain about that. So you want to think about maybe using pens that are very smear resistant or something along those lines. Know that a dry erase board, a child might tend to erase their work as they're going along with their hand. Another thing you want to consider, especially when it comes to writing, is that left-handers often slant their paper to the right side, so that the left side of the paper is actually tilting more upwards. That is really going to help them to see their work better and produce better writing. Right-handers don't do this. Right-handers, we have our paper really straight across the board. And the last little tip I want to give you is to use a handwriting curriculum. This is really important because left-handers often have some struggle with handwriting because they are more inclined to want to go in the opposite direction. This is oftentimes because they are left-eyed as well. So they're going to want to move from the right to the left instead of the left to the right. Using a handwriting curriculum helps them to have more cues and more direction that prevents this type of thing from happening. So you might want to consider a handwriting curriculum to do that. Research also shows that handwriting curriculums, no matter which one they are often really helpful for kids when it comes to handwriting. So maybe you want to try out Playapy's PALS handwriting program. That has been really successful with left-handers as well. All right, guys, that was it. That went by super fast. I really tried to be as concise as possible and give you just some quick information that can be super helpful to you if you are the parent of a possible left-hander. Having a left-hander can be really awesome. Sometimes it can even put them at an advantage, especially sometimes when it comes to sports. Make sure you give a lot of love to those left-handers and let them know that they are super cool and awesome and they have great role models in the world. Did you like this video? I hope that you did. If you found it helpful, I want you to make sure that you subscribe to this channel, like this video down below, and leave a comment. Also, don't forget to go to playapy.com where you will find the option to sign up for the newsletter where you can receive news and discounts and extra information like blog posts and more. And you can also check out Playapy's PALS handwriting program. So I hope to see you there. And until the next video, have a playful day.